What did you think about the movie, Ago? Flash, real quick, just to score. 4?
No,
Higher?
no.
It's a 1?
I'm in the negatives, man.
Is it really? Is that bad?
I
Ooh.
mean, for me,
Yeah,
I'm in the
jeez.
upside down of rating score.
Welcome back to Not a Strong Start, a podcast by filmmakers who talk movies, television, and make orgasmic sounds as we watch movies. I'm your host. I'm winging it.
I am not your host. I love lamp.
And today we got a guest person again back on the show.
I'm Agostino Zoida. I mean, I don't have like a cool catchphrase, do I?
No,
We are literally winging it.
shit, we're literally winging
Yeah.
it. This whole
The
podcast has just
improv
been us
one?
winging it. Yeah, that's it. This whole podcast is just improv, the whole thing. So in this week's episode, we're going to talk about the most improv heavy movies, actors, and just kind of dabbling a little bit into it. But first, we're going to hit you with the current event.
We got Mission Impossible coming out soon. We have Oppenheimer coming out also soon. Well, I guess Tom Cruise is not very happy because Oppenheimer is pretty much going to dominate the IMAX screenings. And Mission Impossible is really only going to have the IMAX screening for 1 week. And then Oppenheimer has it reserved pretty much for 3 weeks after that. So he was upset, trying to push for both Oppenheimer and Barbie to change their release dates because Mission Impossible is, according to him, better to be portrayed on the IMAX screens.
Then Barbie, I'm shocked. I feel like Barbie needs the full IMAX, real 3D, digital, Dolby sound. It needs all of that, doesn't it?
Barbie needs a way to show off all that paint. Didn't they cause like a pink paint shortage because they used so much paint on the set and to create Barbie? They created a world shortage of that color.
Well, I mean, when you're dealing with them and Pepto-Bismol, they pretty much monopolize it on that regard.
Yeah, like the Barbie movie, I guess it would probably be cool in IMAX because like they built this whole world and it probably like all the color. But for me, I'm like, I don't need to see that in IMAX. Like maybe it's for some people, but I mean, it's kind of like when Ron Howard built like Whoville, it's like they built this whole world. It's like, oh, okay, it's kind of cool to see, but I don't know. I don't think I need to see it in IMAX.
No, and I definitely don't need to see it on the tram anymore. Universal Studios.
Oh, yeah.
They still take her on the Whoville. Like,
They still take
right.
you on a Whoville.
But on the Oppenheimer, I get that it was created for IMAX. And that's the way it was filmed. So that is the perfect medium for it, is to have it on that. But then, I mean, personally, when I think IMAX, I think action movies, explosive movie, things that I want to just see in that format. Oppenheimer, I see more as a low-key, slow pace, slow burn type of serious movie. It doesn't scream IMAX to me. So, I mean, personally, I probably would prefer to watch Mission Impossible on the IMAX over Oppenheimer.
Yeah, I could see that. I know it has a lot of explosions, Mission Impossible, obviously, but I know Oppenheimer, they also have bomb explosions in this because that was kind of a big thing where Christopher Nolan had to actually detonate stuff. So I know that they filmed some stuff, but again, it's going to be kind of like There Will Be Blood, where it's like you get like these big dramatic moments, but it's so far spread and few that you're just kind of sitting there in an IMAX versus you hear the theater next to you and it's like loud explosions because Mission Impossible, but it's like a tiny little theater next to you. Could be.
I think yeah, I mean Nolan has to like portray a nuclear bomb and he used real explosives. So I mean it's probably gonna look pretty epic.
Yeah. Only 2 islands were destroyed in his testing of the bomb, so.
And they're 2 that nobody really cares about. You know what I'm saying? Nobody's talking about them anymore. They're not trending.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Exactly.
Those islands. I agree with both you guys that like probably Mission Impossible has more action throughout and would be better. With that being said, Tom Cruise needs to shut his bitch ass up, bro. Like, first of all, how do you know yours is going to be better? You haven't seen Oppenheimer. I'm assuming you haven't seen Oppenheimer yet. Like, why are you assuming? Like, that's just not even fair to say. Yeah. Also, I kind of get why he's mad because like he literally did that bicycle stunt, not bicycle, that like motorbike stunt like himself and did like I don't know, like 10 takes, like literally jumping off a cliff himself. He did his own stunt. So that's probably going to look cool in IMAX and he's pissed that it's not going to be. But let's be honest, bro. It's not going to be in theaters more than a week. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Mission Impossible?
Yeah, dude. It's like it's, I don't know, people that like Mission Impossible, they're gonna go see it in that week, and then
Yeah.
it's gonna be on Prime the next week. I guarantee it. Like, look at Fast X, like maybe a bad example, but they're
3 weeks,
cheesy.
man, right?
Yeah, that's it. It's streaming already. Like, it's gone. And he's gonna like make them move their dates when in actuality, after a week, they're not gonna do as well. I mean, I don't give a about Mission Impossible. The real Mission Impossible is getting me to go watch it. Like, that would be the mission.
Is it Mission Possible? Maybe not.
Yeah, I've actually never seen any of them.
It is a good series with a good following. Most of them are going to go the first week. There's always drop-offs after that. If you get like a 50% drop-off, that's a good drop-off, usually. So that is a good point there.
I'll bet you Barbie and Oppenheimer stay in theaters longer than Mission Impossible.
Maybe, I don't know.
Maybe Oppenheimer, because Christopher Nolan's going to want that theater. He's going to like leverage his his cachet about that.
That's not going to streaming for at least 6 years.
He's gonna be training for this stunt for this many, for however long he did, jumping off a motorcycle just for somebody to watch on their Apple iWatch. That looks fake.
That looks fake.
Get into our main topic. We're gonna talk about improv comedy. So some of the ones that that have been great out there, ones that have gotten some good appeal. What's the benefits that you guys see of improv comedy over scripted comedy, if any? Do you guys think it hurts it? Do you guys think it helps it in any way?
I mean, personally, I think it helps. I mean, from the actor's standpoint, I know myself personally, it can keep things fresh. When you're having to do the same lines over and over and over again, it can become a little stale after a while, where that enthusiasm that you said those lines with, times 1 through 10, might not be there the 100th time you've said that same line over and over again. So then that aspect on it, it can, and then on the director's end on that, I feel it gives them more material on the editing floor where they can then pick and choose, like, okay, this was the original line, but this is way funnier. Like, let me insert that in there. So it gives more flexibility when it comes to putting the movie together. So those, I think, are some of the advantages of the improvisational comedy that you get with some of these movies over just reading and regurgitating the joke that's on the page.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I think that both probably have benefits. And it depends on who you're working with. If you have like a really good script, you definitely want and really good actors that just are great at nailing lives and lines and making a character come to life, which I think is more like dramatic. But in comedy, I would always allow my actors to feel free to throw a line in. If it works, great. If it doesn't, we'll try it with the line. We'll try it with a couple different lines. I mean, I know we're talking movies, but I love watching like outtakes of sitcoms. And it's so funny for me to watch them, like the line they used and what other ones they threw out there, like off the top of their head. They used so many. Like, a good example is like Everybody Loves Raymond, where he's constantly making fun of his brother for being big. And like in just one take, he'll like call him all these different names. Like, there's one episode where they caught him smoking cigarettes, and he calls him like something Inferno. Like, he's just like rapid fire, like listing them off. And it's like, which one are they going to use? So I think, there's definitely advantages to both. It depends who you're working with. Like, if you have an actor who is like comes from improv background and like that's their bread and butter, then let them be. Like, don't put any restrictions on them. But that's movies. Coming from a stand-up comics point of view, in the stand-up comedy world, again, there's two advantages, but I think that like crowd work or improv is like, it hurts the stand-up comedy world. Like, if you go on Instagram right now, all these reels are stand-up comics doing crowd work. And they don't want it's because they don't want to burn their material for free. So they just release crowd work. But like, I think it ruins stand-up, because when people come to a comedy club, they're expecting it now. And they think that they are helping the show to talk because they saw a video on TikTok where it worked out. And then I also have like a lot of newer comics that are chasing that clip now. So I have like guys that are going up before me or opening for me, and they're just chasing a crowd work clip, and they don't really know how to do it yet. I'm not saying like improv is not talent. It's a whole nother tool, but like these guys that don't really know how to do it, they're just chasing like a clip for TikTok, and they'll just be like, where are you guys from? What do you guys do for a living? How long have you guys been together? It's just like Q&As, and they think that's crowd work, you know?
I
Sounds like a
I
job
can see
interview.
that. Yeah, I think of it the way you describe it. I can see it. I think of it kind of like a little kid. And a little kid, it's like once you start playing a game with a little kid, shutting it down is almost impossible. They will want you to do that same thing
Oh
again for the
yeah.
next 7 hours. So I'm
Yes.
picturing comes in right before you, starts rallying up the crowd, getting them to talk, and then you can't just go on stage and be like, all right, this is the no talking section of this. Like
Yeah.
now that
Yeah.
they've been drinking and they're riled up, they're like, I'm part of it.
That's exactly what happens, is that you open the fourth wall and they think they can talk now. And then I go up and I don't do like improv. I can do it. It's a good tool to have if somebody's heckling and how to handle it, but I don't really do it. I'm like a strict, like, keep to my script guy because I just love writing so much. And then people start talking and I'm like, I hate when the crowd work guy goes up before me.
Yeah. So you go up there and then people they're just ready to start spewing answers, even though you didn't even ask questions. So you're just
Yeah.
looking and they start telling you where they're from. It's like, I don't
Just
give a fuck.
anything I say, and they're just like, actually, like, shut up. I didn't ask you.
You're just
Yeah.
looking at them like, are you reading from notes right now? That you create notes for me?
Yeah. For the next guy, she's got like all these.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
I think that's a good point though that you said, Ago, because from like a writer standpoint, it obviously hurts the writer, right? Because they took the time to write the script. There's a reason sometimes why they say, why that line's written the way that it is. Improv, sometimes if they do it poorly or they overdo it in a movie, and maybe that falls more on the editing or the director, it feels like sometimes scenes go on too long, and then we lose focus of what the story A is, of what's supposed to be happening in the movie. Sometimes we get lost in that, and then sometimes they'll cast actors that aren't necessarily as good as that. So, like for instance,
Right.
the movie Knocked Up, right? Judd Apatow, famous for doing improv comedy. Seth Rogen and all them are doing comedy, but Katherine Heigl wasn't that familiar with it. So sometimes you see them kind of struggling to keep up, or they'll be kind of forcing things outside their wheelhouse to be saying these jokes that just aren't necessarily that funny. And then the actors on the other end are feeling some type of way if they're not getting the same reaction that like a Seth Rogen's getting, then she can get in her head about her acting performance. And then you kind of see that kind of taper off. So
Yeah.
it can go
Like
both
I
ways,
said,
man.
it depends like who you have, like who
Yeah.
you're working with, and you got to realize their talents and let them do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you could definitely notice when there's a skill gap on screen during scenes that you could tell that improvisation is happening. You could tell it's a skill. It's like in a rap song when you have like a highly skilled like lyricist, and then you have Kanye West trying to rap with them, like Kanye and Jay-Z, and it's like, ooh, okay, Kanye, I knew you already weren't a great rapper, but now I'm hearing you after Jay-Z just went.
Let's get into some of these improv movies.
All right. So there four. There's a lot out there, but we narrowed it down to four that we've all seen and wanted to talk about. For the first one, I think we should start with Superbad. So in this one, we've all seen it. First of all, did you guys like the movie? We'll start with you on this, Ago.
I love Superbad. It's 2007.
2007. Okay.
Yeah. I love Superbad. I think it's hilarious. I think it's one of why am I blanking on his name? We were just talking about him.
Michael
Seth
Cera?
Apatow?
No, Seth Rogen.
Oh,
I think we're like one of Seth Rogen's best. I think it's because he wrote it, right?
yeah. Him and his buddy wrote it.
Yeah, I think that it's like one of his best movies.
Yeah. I feel that time frame, that mid to late 2000s, maybe early like 2010s, that we were getting a lot of these movies. And a lot of them coming from like Judd Apatow and things like that, but we were getting a lot of these movies that were within that realm. They were like those improvisational comedy type movies, and this was one of them that fell between it. What was some of everyone's favorite moments from that movie?
That movie was great, man. I really liked Jonah Hill I thought, so brilliant in the movie. It's absolutely one of my favorite comedies, I think, going back and watching Superbad. But Michael Cera did such a great job
Yes.
as the straight man, and it's so hard to play that, or at least maybe it feels that way because you've seen so many that have just played it so bland. And Michael Cera gives one of the better straight man performances where they're hilarious. So that way you have, because they already give him McLovin, and you already give him the Jonah Hill character that already are like those zany, it's easier to play roles, right? Because you're giving them the better lines, you're giving them the better bits to work with. But Michael Cera sold his lines, man. Remember the accidental boo punch?
Yeah.
So good.
100% agree, bro. They were a perfect chemistry. They were a perfect formula for perfect comedy. It's like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. John Candy. Well, you know that Steve Martin was supposed to be like the funny one in it, and then when he found out it's John Candy, he goes, "I'm not going to play this funny. I'm not even going to try to compete with him funny. I'm going to play this straight man." And yeah, man, Michael Cera and Jonah Hill, I like they could do a remake of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Honestly,
Yeah, I wish they would, man. If Jonah Hill got back to his comedy roots.
I heard that they were gonna do it, and it's supposed to be like Kevin Hart and I think like The Rock or something. Yeah, they're gonna ruin it. They're gonna ruin it,
man.
and it has to be an IMAX. I'm just
Dolby surround sound with 3D though. You have to have 3D glasses for this one.
My favorite parts, what stole the movie for me, was McLovin and the cops together. All of their scenes.
So
there wasn't
funny.
one scene between them that I didn't laugh, where I was more invested in their adventure than Michael Cera and Jonah Hill's adventure. I wanted more of them. That just worked out to perfection to me.
The cartoon drawing that Jonah Hill's talking about his obsession. Man, yeah, I just thought I really, really dug Michael Cera and Jonah Hill's chemistry, man. I really did. McLovin was awesome with the cops. They were great to watch, but I don't know, man. Just those two guys were so good in it. Like even when Jonah Hill's putting on the pants, remember? He's like, "Hey, Teach," and he's sitting there trying to make it look sexual. Remember, he's sitting there showing like his junk, and you could see his print, and you see him like kind of bending over and turning over. "Hey, Teach. Hey, Professor." So stupid.
So I think like another couple of moments that stand out in that movie is when Jonah Hill's picking up Michael Cera, and he's like, "Dude, your mom's so hot." Like that part's just so funny. She comes out and her cleavage is all in the window.
That's great.
And then they have that back and forth with each other about like, fucking each other's moms or something. But no, my favorite part of that movie is when Michael Cera is like locked. I think it's in a basement with all those guys doing drugs. And they make him sing like "These eyes." And then, dude, have you guys seen the outtakes of that?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think I have.
That's a hella improv scene. Like he does the whole song. And what's better than, not better, but like just as good as he is improving that scene is all the guys doing drugs. Like that one dude who looks like he's all like wired up. That guy just like, so serious and stuff like that. Like everybody in that scene is so good.
Yeah, they are, man. And I think that's the key in the magic, which what Judd Apatow dug into is when you basically hire friends and improv actors that have that kind of chemistry, it's easier to get a success on camera because it bleeds. They know each other's tells. You know how to play certain things because I know Ago will riff off this. It's easier to do that. It's when you combine people that are outside of that or aren't familiar with each other, that's where you see the struggle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Superbad's like Happy Gilmore of Adam Sandler, or it's the prime of Judd Apatow and Seth Rogen's movies.
Next in line, we have Wedding Crashers.
They came out right before 40-Year-Old Virgin. And Wedding Crashers was great to me, but then once 40-Year-Old Virgin came out, I just thought it was sort of like a better version of that in terms of like that improv comedy. But Wedding Crashers was great, man. And you have Rachel McAdams in it as well.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, she did a great job in it. I liked it. It was good.
Yeah. I gotta say, I prefer Wedding Crashers over 40-Year-Old Virgin. I love 40-Year-Old Virgin, but I've watched Wedding Crashers. I've quoted Wedding Crashers more than I have 40-Year-Old Virgin.
That's how I am with 40-Year-Old Virgin. Yeah. What about you, Ago? You're the tiebreaker. What did you watch more?
I definitely watch 40-Year-Old Virgin more. But I don't know. I'm not a giant Wedding Crashers fan. I think that there's definitely a lot of funny scenes. Like there's like a handful of funny scenes, but overall, I don't think it's a great movie. And I think it's like, I think it takes raunchy too far beyond comedy. Like they're trying to be funny with raunchy, but it goes like to like you're losing the punchline just to be raunchy a couple times.
Like the
But
brother, right? Rachel McAdams' brother's
yeah,
character was the one that I know when you said that, that's what I think about. I'm like,
that's a
kind of
good
felt forced.
example. Yeah, like
Yeah.
there's stuff that's just funny, and then there's stuff you're forcing to be outrageous, but you
Yeah.
sacrifice the funny. But there is a lot of funny in it. There's a lot of funny. There's Will Ferrell's in it, right? Like Will Ferrell's I think
Yeah.
Will Ferrell's character is really
He's
funny.
the older
Scenes with him.
mentor. That's the mom meatloaf line that
Yeah.
Oh
became
yeah, yeah, yeah.
famous.
Doesn't he go to funerals to meet chicks?
Yeah, yeah.
That actually is kind of funny. And there's a lot of funny stuff. I love Owen Wilson. I love Vince Vaughn. Like there's funny stuff. They're all great at improv. I just think that the movie's like a little long and dragged out. Also, 40-Year-Old Virgin. I think it's really funny until the third act, and it's really slow. And like, and then I'm like done.
Yeah, you did get that with a lot of those movies during that time. Is sometimes they were, especially with like Judd Apatow movies, they tended to be longer than they should have been.
Because he lets the improv scenes carry out too long. And you can read it sometimes where it's like, okay, you know, like you were talking about, Ago, they'll keep going with the joke, and the joke is like, all right, we got to get back. Let's get back on track now, guys.
Yeah. Just like take the best one out of the improv lines and use that one. Like don't use them all. They just let them keep going.
Yeah, and Wedding Crashers, you see that early on in the movie with the divorce proceedings, where then you have Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson pretty much just riffing back and forth towards the couple. And that was one of the scenes where it was like, okay, we're about 6 jokes deep now. Like we can like
Let's
move on. But you could tell in that movie, they pretty much looked at Vince Vaughn and they're like, just cook. Just go. Just let it all out there. Because a lot of the lines that are remembered from that came from him. And even Bradley Cooper got in on it a little bit.
Oh, yeah. I mean, some of the best comedies are from the 90s, and those were 90-minute movies. And they didn't feel long. They were quick. And then all of a sudden, like you're saying, during this era, all these Judd Apatow improv guys started doing movies, and we're used to 90-minute comedies.
Yeah.
And they're throwing 2-hour comedies at us. It's like, it's too much.
Yeah.
I felt, I mean, drama, we've always gotten it, but I feel that's happened with like all the genres. Everything's just added on like 30 minutes to it. I think I watched Halloween H2O the other day because I hadn't watched in a long time.
It's good.
And that's only like 90 minutes. And I remember it like ended and I felt like it was an episode of a show. It felt so short because I've gotten so used to 2.5 hours.
Yeah. By the way, that Michael Myers improv that I'm just kidding.
He also great. Yeah. He improved all his skills.
Yeah. He improved his head being cut off. He was like, hey, just cut my head. And then we'll do another movie and say it's not even me under here. It'll be great.
But man, I think for Wedding Crashers, I think Will Ferrell absolutely stole that movie, in my opinion, with the little short scenes that he has, because that's the most quotable ones. The gifs you see are always from that one. You know, like what an idiot. You see him clicking the
that is
it's
true.
usually that. Yeah, so I thought it was him.
I don't know if you guys have seen Renfield, which I don't think was that great of a movie, but I think that it is the start of like movies being shorter again.
I know you mentioned Will Ferrell, so for the next one, let's go into Step Brothers, starring Will Ferrell. So, what are you guys' thoughts on that one?
I think that Step Brothers is really funny. I think it's better than Wedding Crashers, 40-Year-Old Virgin. I think it has way more funnier scenes. I actually probably watch that a lot, maybe once a year. I also think that they sacrifice funny for outrageous or shocking or just to be crude for no reason. But there's some really good improvisational actors in that, like John C. Reilly, bro.
Yo, that like, combo together, Will Ferrell and John C. Except like, for Sherlock.
John C. Reilly has so much range, man. Like we've seen him in nominated films. Hasn't he been nominated?
Yeah, I think so. I know he was in Magnolia, and that was like
yeah.
He's
in The Perfect Storm, which I don't think was nominated, but a hella serious movie.
Yeah.
He's in isn't he
he was
like,
in Boogie Nights.
Yeah. No, what's the like Johnny Cash
Yes,
Oh,
that's what I was saying. I was like,
Dewey
he did
Cox.
like a
Dewey
biopic.
Cox.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dewey Cox. That was funny. That was a funny movie too.
Yeah.
Dewey
And then
Cox.
he's got like so
Hard.
much improv skills and comedy range in Step Brothers. It's so funny.
No,
Yeah.
and I agree with you on on Step Brothers. I would also hold that above the other movies, and that this one had me laughing throughout. And
Mhm.
it's the second combination of Farrell and John C. Riley that had me on the floor laughing, which was Talladega Nights was the other one.
Mm.
They had them like both together. But this movie just hit from the beginning, and even the side characters like Adam Scott and Richard Jenkins and all that stuff, they also had their moments to shine. So there wasn't too many times during this movie that I was watching it that I wasn't laughing. And plus, boats and hoes,
Boats and
that
Hoes.
became infamous going forward.
It did, man. So Step Brothers was a movie that took me when I first watched it, I thought it was like kind of funny with those dumb stuff. Then as I kept watching it, I love it. And I watch it
Yeah.
at least once a year. I quote
Yeah.
it so much. The whole like nutsack on the drum kit. It's
Oh
so
yeah.
stupid. It's such dumb comedy. I agree with you, Ago. I watch it more than I watch Wedding Crashers, And even though you can probably argue that Crashers is maybe a better written movie, right? Because the concept and all
Mm.
that. Step Brothers is just as basic as possible, but it's the actors carrying it and they're
Yeah.
selling it. Like even the parents that
Yes.
they casted in this sold the hell out of it when it's such a ridiculous thing. Like even the Catalina wine mixer.
The
It's so
Catalina wine
stupid.
mixer.
Dude, Adam Scott with the abs. And Adam
Yeah, I was just
Scott
thinking
was
about
great
that.
in this movie. I love Step Brothers.
The scene in the car with his family where with the
singing.
singing.
Yes. Man, singing Guns N'
He gets
Roses.
mad.
Oh my God.
He like straight up like is like verbally abusive with his wife because she can't sing
Yeah.
as good as them.
She can't hit the note. Wasting all those vocal lessons. That's hilarious.
I think one of the differences that helped this one over 40-Year-Old Virgin and Wedding Crashers is this is more of a straight comedy, so
Mm.
it didn't get sacrificed by the rom version, a part of the rom-com that you had with
Yeah.
the other ones. This is just pretty much straight comedy. You're meant to laugh there throughout, but yeah, no, I didn't think this was going to be one of the ones that we all agree on. Did we all just become best friends?
Yep.
Yep.
It's like a cult classic now. It's like
Mhm.
for us, Dumb and Dumber is like a cult classic that because of our
Yeah.
age group, but
Yeah.
for some people's age group, it's Step Brothers.
The last one that we have here, Deadpool, starring Ryan Reynolds. So this one will start with you, Dan.
Deadpool. Dude, I love Deadpool 1. Ryan Reynolds is so good in it. He's the best part of Deadpool. He sells it so much. He was made for Deadpool, man. I like Ryan Reynolds. I know, Ago, I don't think you do, right? You don't like Ryan
I do
Reynolds?
like Ryan Reynolds.
Oh, you
Yes.
do? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think he's hilarious, man. He's quick with the improv. He's so quick to burn. And a lot of times the other actors that he's with just have to sit there and take it. Like they can't keep up with his quips, man. He's so good in it. Yeah, I love
Yeah.
Deadpool. I gave it, I think, like a 9.5. I think out of 10.
Damn.
I gave it high, man, just because the villain was my biggest issue. He's a little flat, but I loved it, man. I thought it was great. It was hilarious. It was unique. It was different out of a superhero movie that we've seen at that time. And it's Ryan Reynolds. Like I love Just Friends just for the same reason, because him
Oh
and
my
Anna
God.
Faris are
Yeah.
phenomenal in that movie. But I love Ryan Reynolds, man. So Deadpool, yes.
Deadpool, the first time I saw it, I didn't like it.
Mm.
I saw the second one, which I like more, and I think it is funnier. But after like the second one hooked me, and I went back and watched the first one, and I like don't mind it as much. But I mean, if we're just talking about improv guys and guys that are good on it, I think Ryan Reynolds is amazing. I think he's a great comedic actor. I also agree that Just Friends is like one of the funniest comedies ever. One of my favorite Christmas movies. But I do have a problem with Ryan Reynolds now, is that like I've seen him be so funny in other movies, and then he does do well in Deadpool. But now after Deadpool, I don't see him being anything else other than Deadpool. Like even in like Free Guy, it's like you're just doing Deadpool. Like it's just the same. you know, like so that's my one complaint about it.
It was Hobbs and Shaw. I was doing an unfortunate rewatch of the Fast and the Furious.
Why?
So
I don't know if anyone's told you this. If you're doing a Fast and Furious rewatch, you don't have to watch Hobbs and Shaw.
You don't have to watch any of them.
It wasn't for me. I was introducing someone else to this misery. But anyway, he shows up on there, and it just felt like that. They were just like, hey, Ryan Reynolds is funny. Let's just throw him in there. We don't really need his character, and just have him go off and be Ryan Reynolds. And you could tell The Rock could not keep up with him when it came to like the scene, and when they were like riffing back and forth. It pretty much ended up being Ryan Reynolds and The Rock like trying to make comments back. But that's what we've been getting with Ryan Reynolds a lot, is like Ago was saying, it just seems like the Deadpool character turned up a little bit or turned down a little bit. And that's kind of what we're getting on everything. And, you know, in this movie, Ryan Reynolds, of course, he is the MVP in Deadpool. And a lot of it is him improv. I've seen the outtakes from both of the Deadpools. And the scenes, there's so many different type of lines that he's throwing out there. Even to the point with the new one, I think they had to put in it because he improvs so much that because of the writer's strike, it was the way the contract was set up for the movie is he wasn't allowed to improv because it's considered part of the writing, because he does it so much. So people, so he actually is going to have to follow the script until the writer's strike is done.
I know.
Who would you guys regard as the greatest improv actor or actress?
That's hard.
Ever. Because I feel like all these movies we're talking about are really great.
Like
1 5
you almost want to say, dude, John Candy was phenomenal. Like you talk about Bill Murray's that said it, but like I think Robin Williams is just so good. Like you guys heard about Mrs. Doubtfire, where he improvs so much that they have like I think a rated R or an NC-17 version of it, just because of the crude comedy that he did for this. Like I would love to see an NC-17 Mrs. Doubtfire, man. Think about how much that is. So he was cursing or whatever comedy he was doing was that foul. Like, please, Sally Field. I want to see Sally Field's reaction. So the thing with Robin Williams, that he's so good at this improv that a lot of times you just get reaction shots from the other actors. Because like you can't keep up with Robin Williams, man. Like I don't even know how much of his lines were ever actually just like scripts, like scripted lines. I just feel like he improvs so much.
I think it was for Bridesmaid, because Bridesmaid was you know, there was a lot of parts that were improv there. So I guess usually when they do this, they kind of do they film these movies in a way where they're focusing on the person talking, so then they can like say all the lines and all that stuff. Makes it easier for editing afterwards. But what they did is, because they knew they were going to rely so much on improv, is they always had a camera on the person talking and the person who's reacting, to allow them to go back and forth seamlessly, and then they can actually like patch it up and work it out at the end. And that's one of the strategies that they used in that movie, because they were going to rely so much. They didn't want to miss any moments and being like, oh, this line was really good, but the reaction wasn't great. They can always have like both. If you guys right now were making a movie and you had to choose one actor, and you were going to have a lot of improvised scenes, who would be your actor or actress that you would throw in there?
I would go Chris Tucker. I think Chris Tucker's... Dude, wow. I know. The Rush Hour movies, oh my God. If you watch the outtakes of those, he is so freaking funny. He's great in The Fifth Element. He's so fast and quick with it. And the reason why I mention him is that his quick wit and in like the burns, like sort of what Ryan Reynolds does, Chris Tucker doesn't feel like it's overpowering. It seems like he complements the other actor better. Whereas Ryan Reynolds is, I'm going to do my spiel and I'm going to do my lines, and I don't necessarily change with who I'm doing the scene with. Chris Tucker does. He's very fluid with it, and he makes the partnership between him and Jackie Chan is just phenomenal in the Rush Hour movies, man. He's so good. I'll go back to the Rush Hour movies just for Chris Tucker. He's great.
Agreed. Yeah. I think Chris Tucker is awesome. I think he's funny. I've met him a few times. He's a great person. I think he's super talented. Yeah, that's a good. I'm really excited for the fourth Rush Hour that's
Me
being made.
too. Me too.
And I honestly think he was my favorite character in Air.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I agree
Yep.
there.
I could
Yeah.
see this might be a little far fetched, but I'm gonna go ahead and throw this out there. You heard it here first on your guys' podcast. I'm gonna predict that he's nominated for a supporting role for that.
Well, what about you, Ago? Who would you cast as your improv MVP for your movie?
Um, so many good ones, dude. But you know, I think I'm gonna play it. I don't know if this is safe or smart. I think I'm going Steve Carell.
Mm.
Because Steve
Oh,
Carell
good
has
choice.
so much range. He comes from an improv background, but now he's this also another Academy Award nominee actor now. Like if I wanted to do a project, I know that he can get the funny and nail the serious scenes.
Mm-hmm.
And we kept talking about how this era of all the movies that we're talking about came out at this time, uh, are all like Judd Apatow movies, all like improv guys. I think it's because of The Office. I think that's why the movies were so popular. Like people
Mm-hmm.
love the improv people. Like even Rainn Wilson is fucking phenomenal as an improv
Mhm.
guy. You know, I think The Office like made these improv guys blow up. So I'm going Steve Carell.
Great
I,
choice.
I I almost went Steve Carell, but also for similar reasons. While not as established as Steve Carell, I'll pick Bill Hader, just
Ooh.
because I feel he's also a scene stealer, and
Mm-hmm.
then with projects such as Barry, he's shown that he's got the range,
Mhm.
that he can dive into the serious aspect. So if I am going to do a movie, I feel confident that whatever I put in front of him, he's going to be able to deliver and adjust and not always be with the switch on for funny, 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 funny. Which I feel that's kind of where we are with Ryan Reynolds, as great as he is. The switches seems to always be on and at the same like range.
Right. Yeah, switch it
Yeah.
on and off. Yeah, that's a good point, man. I want to see Ryan Reynolds do some serious movies again, like
I know.
Buried.
And I think the key that we're talking about with these actors that we chose is that they're not oversaturated. Because you know when you
Mhm.
hear like a Vince Vaughn or a Will Ferrell, they're very what you expect. So when you get it,
Yeah.
there's not necessarily anything new with what they're providing to you. It's the same, kind of like a Kevin Hart to some extent.
Mhm.
And I did, like you said, that I did get there with Will Ferrell
Mm-hmm.
after a while, where I just had no interest in watching a Will Ferrell movie because
Agreed.
it all felt the same.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I got there. I don't know if I've gotten out of there yet.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, Jim Carrey was like that, where he was kind of typecasted into the certain thing until he branched out, and now he refuses to kind of even do it
Yeah.
anymore, which is smart. You know, it kind of extends your career. So,
But he also refuses to do anything that has any violence in it. Like, and he
mm,
regrets doing anything that ever had violence in it.
damn. So Kick Ass too. He's
He
regrets it.
hates the fact that he did Kick-Ass. He says he won't
Wow.
watch it and he'll never do it again.
Mm.
Like he doesn't want to have nothing to do. I'm like, bro, then ship the money back
Uh,
whenever you get a check. But I'm sure you don't do that. But
I don't know. I mean, I felt Dr. Robotnik, was pretty violent.
so we're gonna just honorable. This is honorable mention scenes and movies that people probably don't know was improv.
Mm.
This one's probably a little obvious when Jim Carrey comes out and says, "Big gulps, huh?" From Dumb
Oh
and
yeah.
Dumber.
Yeah.
Well, see you
Oh
later.
yes,
That was
I remember
improv.
that.
Yeah.
Here's one that some people may not know. Gene Wilder and Willy Wonka improv that entire scene when he comes out crippled and then flips and rolls. Like that
Oh.
was all
Ah.
improv.
I love
Uh,
shout out to Gene Wilder, man. I
hell
love
yeah.
me some
Mhm.
Gene Wilder. Young Frankenstein. Oh, love it.
My third, I'm gonna give you one more, which a lot of people don't know. How much was improv in Jaws?
Mm.
So many lines were improv in Jaws. What's his name? Why am I drawing a blank right now?
Richard Dreyfuss.
Richard Dreyfuss is like so funny and also very quick. Even when the scenes and the lines aren't funny, he was improving very quick lines. And then
Mm.
also the famous line, "We're gonna need a bigger boat," was completely improv.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Crazy.
and that's good because it shows, improv doesn't always have to be, comedy.
Mm-hmm.
There's other genres where improvisation does occur. It's just more famously associated with comedy.
So what's on the queue? What's a good improv movie that you want to recommend to our audience?
You know, I'm gonna take the easy way out here before you guys jump in. I'm gonna go with Step Brothers because I'm also gonna be rewatching that these days. This discussion about it, I'm like, I want to see Step Brothers again.
Okay, I'll go.
You know what? I'm gonna recommend that people watch Daddy's Home 2.
Oh, you love that movie.
I do love that movie. And you actually see like Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell kind of play off each other really well, which you don't really see Mark Wahlberg too often. And well, he did do some comedies, but they work well together.
Yeah, The Other Guys, I think, was a big improv one.
The Other Guys,
Wahlberg.
that's right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a big fan of the first Daddy's Home movie. It's okay. Part 2, I think, is hilarious and one of my favorite Will Ferrell movies and a great Christmas movie.
Yes. I'm gonna go Rush Hour 2. In my opinion, that's the best of the Rush Hour movies. So much fun to watch, and
2 is fun.
Yeah, 2 is fun. So I recommend that one to our people. But thank you for watching another episode of Not a Strong Start. You can like, comment, share, subscribe on our YouTube channel, Not a Strong Start. Listen to us anywhere you listen to your podcast. You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter, Not a Strong Start. I'm your host. I'm winging it. You can follow me at King_Sangre.
I'm not your host. I love Lamp, and you can find me at This Is Mi Nombre on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
You guys can find me at Heaven on Earth Massage Parlor in Rush Hour 2. I'm Agostino Zoida. Can I plug some tour dates?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Next weekend, I'm going to be in Phoenix, Arizona at the House of Comedy. It's like the best club in the country to work. So that's the 22nd through the 25th. And I got a lot of stuff in July. I'm going to Vancouver, Canada, Minneapolis, and performing in the Mall of America. So I got a lot of summer dates. You can go to AugostinoComedian.com or make sure you follow me on Instagram, Agostino Zoida, or TikTok is Agostino Comedian.
Mm-hmm. And if you want to plug the movie stash.
Yeah, Kevin, you just had him on, right?
Yep,
Kevin Lyons and I do a show called The Movie Stash. We review movies. It's kind of a humorous twist on movie reviews. And the full episodes are always available on YouTube, but we put like always under 5-minute clips without spoilers on Instagram. And it's just a lot of fun, really funny. And at the end, we always do movie trivia, and the winner gets to pick the next movie that we force the other one to watch. So it's a lot of fun. That's called The Movie Stash.
Contrary to the title, you guys don't wear fake movie stashes. You guys need to. The fake,
dude. The old picture is us wearing fake mustaches, and Kevin hates it. He's like, "It's so stupid. Take it down."
You guys should wear it for the episodes. You should just make that your thing where you just wear them.
Yeah,
the wax.
Then you can like tie the tips together of the mustaches.
You guys don't pull too much, huh?
Yeah.